just a little bit after 1. And according to the title, that I typed in, we're going to talk about yoga and transformation. We'll see. Sometimes conversations take on their own agenda, and well, we never know how it's going to turn out or what we're going to talk about. But I have a few things queued up on um, Google. Let's see. And we'll see where it goes. I had a couple good articles that I had saved. Sorry. I don't mean to be silent. I just want to make sure I have the right information at my fingertips. What I'm mainly interested in is how yoga changes our physiology and how it changes our mind, literally the structure of the brain, transforming us with little effort on our part. That's the funny thing about yoga. It's a path of transformation, but it is not a path of self-improvement, if that makes sense. Improvement happens, but of course, the more you dive into it, the more you dive into yoga, the more you dive into meditation, the more you see that the self that we're talking about in self-improvement is a process and not an actual static thing. So it can't be improved, because in actuality, it's not a thing, it's not a person, it's not something that can be improved or something that actually can become worse or anything. What happens is yoga, each session, each asana, every time we sit in meditation, the transformation happens. My friend Destiny Forever Walks is here, and she says hello and happy Monday, Eric. Thank you, Destiny. Happy Monday to you as well. Happy start of a brand new week. I'm talking a little bit. I think this is a topic that might be dear to your heart as well, and it's about transformation. My own path through yoga, transformation has happened on its own without my willful effort. I quit drinking in, I think it was 1999, and after a decade of drinking virtually every day, being a high functional drinker, and I say high functional not as if I was leading a very successful life, because I wasn't. I was slowly drinking myself out of friends, relationships, all kinds of stuff. I was high functioning because I carried on as if nothing was happening, even though I drank every night. I went out. I went to bars every single night. I lived a wilder life way past my specific time. And yet during that time, I worked out every day. I did yoga. I meditated. But I was perfectly content, perfectly happy to continue what I was doing, because that was my social life. Those were my relationships. Those were my friends, people I saw in bars, people I hung out with. It took a fairly serious incident for me to suddenly realize, if I wanted to, at that moment, I never had to take a drink again. And that's exactly what happened. It was an effortless change, because I was no longer the person who drank. In an instant, I was somebody other. I was somebody who didn't drink. I was someone who didn't even go to bars any longer. I tried for a little bit, but I was no longer that person, so I no longer fit in. I no longer had anything in common with the people the day before I was with. Instant transformation. I started yoga and meditation years before that, but I got serious during the 90s. And when I got serious, my life turned serious, meaning that things started to change on their own. Destiny says, Happy New Week to you as well. Transformation is something that we don't push ourselves into. We grow into the stage of transformation as our soul yields to the change. Perfectly said, my friend. Not only perfectly said, beautifully said. That was the case. Now, it's always a big topic to talk about, especially YouTube fitness community, because it can be very big on self-improvement. One more rep today than I got yesterday. 1 minute longer than I did the day before, and holding something for, even in yoga, I held this pose for 5 seconds longer than I held it before, where I went deeper. I touched my knee for the first time. And as my friend Destiny just said, it is not something we push ourselves towards, though. Those are metrics of measurement, but it's not true transformation. Doing a head to knee pose, touching my head to my knee, is not a transformation, it's just an increase in flexibility. However, holding that pose with a steadiness of breath, a sense of awareness, poised, that's transformation. That's where the transformation begins, and then it carries off the mat. Becoming a great meditator isn't transformation. Getting on the mat, getting on your meditation bench, your meditation cushion, straight back chair, whatever you use, and meditating, that's the transformation. Just sitting, following the breath, or using your mantra, whatever form of meditation. Getting on your knees and praying to God, please change me. Here's where the transformation actually happens. Getting on your knees. Admitting you need change. Admitting you need help. And AA, here's the funny thing, when I quit drinking, I didn't really go to meetings. I never told anyone I'm done drinking, I'll never drink again. It was just done. Just no longer part of my life. After a decade plus of heavy drinking, it just, again, I wasn't the same person. But I do have an affinity for AA because it's a program that can help a lot of people. It's not for everyone. Some people have found other ways. Some people don't need a way, like me. My way was, again, just being transformed for whatever reason, however it happened. But for some people, it's an extremely useful program. What I saw, though, personally, was I did not want to step into another addiction, even a healthier addiction, of going to meetings and having that drive, the necessity of going to the meetings. Absolutely nothing wrong with it. Go if you absolutely need to go, or if you feel it's going to be helpful. But the reason I bring that up, Bill W., the founder of AA, firmly believed, and it's one of the tenets of the 12 steps, is that you need an epiphany. If you get the epiphany, everything changes. Or as Einstein said, nothing changes until something moves. And getting on your knees sometimes is the movement that you need. Just saying, I need help. What I'm doing isn't working for me any longer. I need something else. Course in Miracles, which is a self-study book of deep spirituality that I followed for a long time, doesn't quite resonate with me in the same way, but it's a beautiful path. They talk about, in the Course in Miracles, that it is through the very act of getting on your knees that brings that great change. One of the ways the Course in Miracles started was I forget her last name, Helen. I got Google here, I could look it up. But um, the person who dictated, who heard, channeled the words from A Course in Miracles, she was a professor. And there was a lot of fighting. Professor in New York City, I believe. And there was a lot of fighting amongst the scholars, fellow professors, fellow teachers, always undermining, undercutting each other. And she turned to a colleague who she never got along with and said, there has to be a better way than this right now. And he looked at her and said, there is, and I'll help you find it. Soon after, she started hearing a voice saying, this is A Course in Miracles. It's a course in love. Take notes. She heard the voice. She dictated the words to her co-professor, who said that he would help her, and A Course in Miracles came to be. And it's a very profound book. It's got a workbook and a text, and then a course book for students, text for students afterwards, or I'm sorry, for teachers afterwards. For a long time, I thought it might be my path, but again, just for some reason, it failed to resonate as deeply as it did, and I studied it for 20 years. Destiny says, absolutely. When we're ready to accept the change and let go of the old, you and the old ways, transformation will beautifully take place, and we will become new with the opportunities to start over again. Again, beautifully said, Destiny. For me, it just seemed that, as Destiny said, letting go of everything. I just practiced yoga. I just meditated. I just did these things not for the act of transformation, but because I loved them. I loved each asana that I was doing. I loved each session of meditation. Every day, I fell more deeply in love with that. And every day now, I still fall more deeply in love with it. To the point where I decided to become a meditation teacher. I became a breath coach and a yoga teacher as well. Although I always keep telling people, I'm not going to be a in-studio yoga teacher. I'm not going to be, that type of, like a personal trainer yoga teacher. I want to teach what we're teaching here, have a conversation, and see what unfolds. Start with the idea of how yoga changes. And it does. There's just something about that concentrated moment of asana, breath, and awareness that brings changes not just to the body, but to the very structure of the brain. And that is some of the articles that I have up here. One is actually published through Fox News. I'm not a Fox fan, full disclosure. But hey, good information is good information, no matter where you find it. And here they're talking about the blend of physical postures, breathing exercises, and meditation, which I was saying, has been studied in modern settings, showing benefits for the cardiovascular system, stress reduction, improved brain function, and more. However, what they're saying here, and actually Deepak Chopra wrote a book about this probably 10 or more years ago. I have it back there on my shelf somewhere. Article in Fox News is saying that now it appears that yoga can alter DNA, the molecules that carry our genetic information and instructions in positive ways. Amazing, but yogis knew it for 4,000 years. They lived it. They saw it. But it's always good when science, I don't want to say catches up, but when they decide that this is worth exploring. So many positive benefits of practicing yoga. When I say yoga, I mean the entire yogic path, which is, again, the 8 limbs. You have the yamas, or the yamas, the niyamas, pranayama, asana, meditation, and then the stages of meditation that take you to samadhi, which is bliss consciousness. Some would say awakening, some might say enlightenment, doesn't matter, whatever term that we use. And with the yamas, and yamas being the personal observances that we use, non-harmfulness, truthfulness, cleanliness, stuff like that. Pranayama being breath work, asanas being the postures that we hold, and then meditation. And those stages from concentration to absorption, where there's just the object of the meditation, and there's just the observer of that. So, when I say yoga, I mean that whole path, not just holding an asana, although there's positive benefits just doing that. So, here they're talking about the epigenetic effect arising from non-energetic influences, which would be the practice of yoga. Diet, sleep, and thousands of other life factors are believed to produce epigenetic effects, both positive and negative. In cases of investigation into how yoga affects genes, the epigenetic effect appears very positive and beneficial. So they're talking about the studies, Calgary study, we're talking about, I'll try to remember to post the link here for it. Yogic capacity to modify genetic activity is one more demonstration of the benefits of these age-old practices, and may support the oft-repeated claim that yoga extends both health span and lifespan. Destiny says, this is amazing. Yoga is a great way of transformation from our old self into our new self, mind, body, and soul. And that is the exact point that I hope to make, that you don't have to do it to bring about these changes. You don't have to say, I want to make changes and I'm going to start doing yoga. What you can do is start doing yoga and you are transformed. First by the commitment, first by committing yourself to the practice of yoga, and then showing up every day. Because unless you show up, no change is ever going to take place. No transformation is ever going to happen. You need to show up on your mat. You need to show up on your meditation bench. And then the magic starts to happen. Doesn't have to be much. I've been recommending micro practices. 10 minutes. Yoga in the morning. 15. That's just a random time, but because almost everyone has 10 minutes to do something. And then in the afternoon, if you have time, you do a longer session. But waking up, I like to start it with a chant. Easy Om. 3 times. Om. 3 times. It sets the intent. Our body responds to the vibration. This is yoga time. Destiny says, thanks for sharing this very important information. Absolutely. Happy to. I love talking about it. So we chant Om 3 times to set the intent, but also because our body starts to respond to the vibration of Om, we know it's time for yoga. Then we do breath work. Morning, breath of fire, 3 rounds, 20 breaths. Breath of fire is a more fast-paced breathing technique. It has breath retention as well at the end of each round. It wakes us up. It's what's referred to as a coffee breath because it stimulates, gets us ready for the day, raises the metabolism, increases brain function. It gives us the energy as if we drank a cup of coffee, which is why it's called a coffee breath or coffee method of breathing. Then we sit in Savasana, which is a corpse pose, just for a minute. Couple rounds of sun salutation, shoulder stand, plow, forward bend. And then we sit in Savasana, the corpse pose, for the remainder of the time. That's our meditation period. We just focus on the breath. We relax. We can use like a yoga nidra script where we are doing auto suggestions to relax, taking us deeper. We finish chanting with a Om Shanti, which is just setting the intent for peace, setting that vibratory rate for us to respond. Our body responds, bringing us to that peaceful state. And we go about a day. Nothing more. We don't have to think about yoga again for the rest of the day. But the mode is set. The mechanics are in place for transformation to happen. We are literally transforming just by that act. Again, without that effort of saying, I'm going to be a better person. I'm going to be a different person. I'm going to be someone other. We're self-creating. Self-creating self. It happens all the time. It's already happening. In the course of a year, 98% of the atoms in our body will be completely replaced. But they get replaced and they settle in the same old routines. Nothing's changed. Nothing's been transformed except these atoms for these atoms. However, by doing that, just that short little practice, or it can be any other practice. You could do Tai Chi in the morning. You could do other yoga poses. This is just my suggestion. Other breath work, other means of meditation. But that's how everything starts to change. So, here, they're talking about another article, and this one is an online magazine, Fast Company, I'm not familiar with, but they're quoting Scientific American, which has been around forever. My father had a subscription to that my entire life. That National Geographic, grew up with those magazines. I think Scientific American has been around for probably over 100 years. Here, they're talking about telomeres. Telomeres. Destiny says, I loved my spiritual awakening and my transformation journey to finding my truth and my divine purpose. What I discovered was that I was looking for was in me and not outside of me, which is true transformation. Just that realization and nowhere else. It wasn't self-improvement. It was a brand new self that was there all along, but just needed to be exposed to that light, which is what happened, which is, it can happen in these dramatic fashion. St. Paul, or originally Saul, on his horse, struck by light, blinded. As he was healing, everything was different. Brand new person. Became St. Paul. St. Francis was actually a soldier. Returned from the wars. Couldn't fight again. He was done. He was a different person. Those are dramatic effects. Same with the Buddha. He was actually a prince, Prince Siddhartha. Never exposed to suffering his entire life until one night he went out with his chariot driver and he saw someone in mourning. He saw a caravan carrying a dead person. He saw a beggar. He was exposed to suffering. He was instantly transformed. He left his palace behind. He went out searching for the means of escaping suffering. Siddhartha became the Buddha, sat under the Buddha tree and said, I will sit here until I've awakened. And he did. My little transformation was less dramatic. It was just that realization that I was no longer a person who drank. Everything was different. And of course, someone who doesn't drink does things completely different than someone who does. Someone who drinks goes to bars. Someone who drinks might be a little irresponsible. When they're drunk, they do stupid things. They say stupid things. They ruin some things. They take chances that they shouldn't. They're just drinkers. Just someone who, I shouldn't say heavy drinking, but someone who doesn't drink heavily, well, they might meditate. They might deepen their yoga practice. They might put out videos on YouTube talking about strange things. Who knows? But someone who doesn't drink does things completely different than someone who does. In an instant, and it literally was an instant, I went from that person to this person without any effort, without me trying. Just happened. Life has unfolded in a mysterious way ever since. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. That's how life happens. Or so it seems. So, the article again was talking about the telomeres, which are the tiny protective caps on the end of chromosomes. They were physically altered as a result of meditation, which is pretty amazing. They're talking here, this is again quoted from Scientific American, that meditating can physically alter, physically change your DNA. So it strikes me that if we are on the path of transformation, regardless of what it is, burpees, body weight exercises, weight training, it would also serve us to spend some time meditating and spend some time doing yoga and get the full aspect of transformation. See where it takes you. That little 10-minute routine I mentioned might take you pretty far. Of course, there's other ways of doing it. So if anyone wants to talk about other ways, just leave a comment or a question in the comment box, and we'll work on it. I'm not coming here with, this isn't my information. Again, I'm reading from Scientific American, I'm reading from Fox News. This is information from yoga that's 4,000 years old. So let's discuss it together and see where it takes us. With that, I'm going to end things early again today, about half hour talking, enjoying the chance that I had to talk with my friend, Destiny Forever Walks, PhD. And I'm going to say goodbye to you, my friend. I'll see you later. I know I will definitely see some more of your videos later today. Anyone who happens to watch this who is unfamiliar with Destiny, check her out. Destiny Forever Walks, PhD, and amazing videos that I think you'll find inspiring and helpful and will help lead you on your own, not just your fitness journey, but maybe your own transformational journey as well. So I'm going to say goodbye. I will see you all tomorrow. Take care.